Today we're going to talk about the evolution of auto mechanics, how things have changed. What's up, everybody? I'd like to welcome y'all to the Errand Runnas Podcast, where we talk about all things cars, roadside assistance, auto mechanics, interiors, accessories, everything, and the hustle that keeps the wheels rolling. I'm your host, Errand Runnas Chris, and today we're talking about something very interesting. How auto mechanics have changed over the years. From the days of fixing cars with just a wrench and a little bit of elbow grease to now needing a laptop just to reset an engine light. Things aren't the same. So let's take a ride through time and break down how the auto industry has changed. Okay, yeah, what's up? I'm trying to get my notes together here. But I've lived long enough, thank God, to see how things have evolved in the auto industry. Basically on working on cars and stuff like that. Back in the days, your cars were pretty much all mechanical. Everything was mechanical. You had less wires in them. There was more made of steel, less plastic, so they would last a little bit better, and they were simple. You can tune a car, fix a car right there in your driveway. With a couple of your friends, drinking a couple of beers, and get the car straightened out with no issues. And we didn't have any no scanners and no specialty tools and stuff like that to be able to fix our vehicles. And as you think about it now, as time has changed, you have to have a scanner. You have companies, they'll try to block you out of software updates, so you won't be able to fix their vehicles. They make specialty tools, so you won't be able to take the car apart or get the part off or something like that. And of course, you have all the sensors in the computer and stuff like that. Now that hasn't necessarily made the industry bad. And also the things that you learn when your car's vehicle, because today some cars are still mechanically have a mechanical foundation to it. So when if you're diagnosing a car, you still want to know the fundamentals. Like you got to make sure it's getting gas. Got to make sure it's getting air, and you're getting a spark. And that would be the first place I would start if I was doing any type of diagnostics, and then I would go from there. And that's when your specialty tools like your scanners, so you can make sure the scanners actually, some of them initiates, some of your little sensors initiates, or it may let your fuel go through your fuel injection at a certain rate. Some sensors will tell what that system is doing at the time. So when you actually put a scanner on your car, that's not necessarily telling you what's wrong with the car. It's just telling you where to narrow down the area to find the issue. And that could be better with the electronics being added to the vehicle. That the systems that they're installing now can be kind of helpful, but the problem is, like, now you might have to have very expensive scan tools and software to help you diagnose the vehicle, and that could be a problem for mechanics and stuff like that. And now you also have coming into play electric vehicles, hybrids. So but the one thing I can say, that's why I think that the roadside service is a good game to get into, because cars will still have brakes and they still will have tires that have to be changed. They still always get flats and simple repairs like that. But still, even with cranking and starting your vehicle, before we just used to have keys. Now they have keys with key fobs. Key fobs help start the vehicle, and not only start the vehicle, and it also has a safety feature, which can not allow you to start your vehicle. So you will have to understand the security system also, because sometimes your problem could be security related, the reason why your vehicle's not starting. But as like I said, if you do the foundations, or some of the the indicators in the dashboard will kind of point you in that direction. So if you know the proper steps of diagnosing and reading what the car is telling you, you'll pretty much know what area of the vehicle to look to see where the problem is at. So some of your new technologies, I wouldn't say is all bad. I wouldn't say it's all bad, but it was a lot simpler and easier to fix your vehicle. No, I can't even say that, because back in the days, let's say for example, if you had a starter, back in the day, I remember we used to take the starter down, take the starter apart, and put new parts in the starter and then install it. Today, they just buy a starter and install it. They don't try to rebuild the starter, So it's a little bit better today. So you're just basically installing the parts. You're not really rebuilding or putting bearings. And sometimes you have to add bearings these days, but back then it was a lot easier. So like putting in rear ends and stuff like this. You still do that to this day. That's still pretty much the same. It's probably just more stuff attached to the axles, that you have a more modern suspension system. The suspension systems was a little bit different and basic back then, but your more modern suspension system gives you a better ride. So it's not necessarily bad. You just have to continue to educate yourself and learn about these vehicles to be able to properly repair them, because they are definitely evolving. Like I said, we're going into the electric cars, so they're soon. I don't even think there's no engine to work on in a electric vehicle. Everything is battery and computer. So it's actually a computer rolling around on wheels that's battery powered. If you look at the way technology going, it makes sense. I can understand. But it would be more expensive to even have your vehicle fixed, because the type of equipment that it's going to take, the type of tools that it'll take, and the type of experience, that the person has to have to work on these vehicles. And by them being new, it's even harder to find people with the proper experience. It's harder to find them because there's not many people trained in those situations. So, there are, as you have, these guys going to school, I'm sure they are implementing, the skills and experiences that they need to be able to fix on these vehicles. But now, like when I came up, I just came up through the ranks, like, always being around cars, always fixing. I do not mess with, I do not repair, electric vehicles. I don't really mess with hybrids, but I would do something like if it needed an alternator. That's why I always do the simplest type of work. Like, I do simple things like I do minor auto repair. Like I would install an alternator, maybe a belt, tire repair, brake services and stuff like that. Because as you get into some of the other stuff, some of the tools you need would be more advanced, and it costs a lot of money, which wouldn't be as easy for a basic, like shade tree type of mechanic to obtain. And so that's why when you go to some of these dealerships, it costs a great deal of money to have your vehicles fixed. And you have to keep that in mind when you're buying these vehicles. You have to keep in mind about what it's going to take to have them repaired when they need to be repaired. The costs behind it. But as they are, implementing these new vehicles into the system, just the price of repairs will go up. It'll just generally go up because, but like, simple things, you can probably still find somebody that's good to help you repair if you have a basic mechanical engine. Pretty much my vehicle that I drive is mechanical. I do all the repairs. I pretty much have done all the repairs for every vehicle I ever drove. I remember 1 or 2 times I've taken my car to the shop just to figure out what was wrong with it, and then I would fix it myself. So, I've just always been around people. Back in the days, you always had neighbors, had some kind of mechanical experience. Everybody usually back then had these basic, experience and skills because it was based on survival and saving money. It wasn't common back then when I was coming up for us to take our car to the shop. It was more common for us to, we have to get out there and work on the car. It wasn't common. I wasn't around people that be like, oh, I got to drop a car off to the shop. That had more evolved as the cars evolved, and I guess less people worked on vehicles at that time. As time grew on, less people, so you had to be more skilled. So even with the pricing on getting your vehicle fixed has evolved, because it would be a lot cheaper. Parts were cheaper back then. The increase in pricing for your parts is a factor on your pricing. Trying to find somebody, because if a mechanic is pretty good, most likely you obtaining his services and his skills, it would have to cost you. Or now we're growing into the mobile mechanics that will actually come to you, so it would be a little bit more fee, but so you have to consider all these type of things in your pricing. Instead of when you go to a shop, it's going to be slightly higher, because they have to pay various more than just your mechanic. They have to pay for the rent, they have to pay for the secretary. They have different expenses for operating a dealership type of business. So that has changed. And of course, if y'all have been by any of the new dealerships and look at some of the cars out there, you could just look at them and tell that they're futuristic. But some things are still simple. Some things are still basic. Some things will, they just work. So they pretty much would change. But the foundation of all things would still be pretty much the same. How things operate. Like your wheels still got to spin on an axle. It might be a different design, but it's still a foundation of an axle. Same thing with your suspension and braking systems. The foundation would probably still be about the same, but the procedure would slightly change. So you have to keep all this stuff in mind when you're buying these newer vehicles. Not only are you getting the technology and a better ride, but it costs more because there's more systems implemented into that vehicle. So things have changed quite a bit. I'm not saying it's all changed for the worse, because some of these things have changed, making it easier for you to be able to fix and diagnose these vehicles with these systems in place, like sensors and scan tools and stuff like that. So your tools are very helpful, and the sensors are helpful to narrowing down the issues in your vehicle. So you can't say that all changes have been bad. Some of the changes that have been made had made it, with them implementing more ECUs and computers in the vehicle, it can help with the efficiency of the fuel and the comfort of your ride, and more comfortability for your interior and stuff like that. So the vehicles has changed, of course. With the vehicles changing, we'll have a major change in auto mechanics. So basically, that's how auto mechanics has evolved. And I thank y'all for watching my podcast. If you like content like this, like, share, subscribe, follow me, and thanks for checking in with me on Errand Runnas Podcast.